This is the review video with the chapter 4.1 that we did before spring break. As you can see, the slack and pivot method is kind of lengthy and complex. So in 4.1, we did like step by step. We break it down into smaller steps to help students to understand it. So the very first step of this kind of method is that when you see an equation, you add a slack variable to make that an equation instead of an inequality. So the first one, I need to add an S1 here, then I can change it to an equation, right? And then if we look at number 4, I have just one equation here, so I add a S1 here to pick up the slack, and then I can change it to an equation. So that's how it works, the very first step. And then let's look at the second one. So the second one is if you're given a linear programming like that, how do you add the slack variable? So we kind of not need to mess with the z, the maximize equations, and we don't need to worry about the xy greater than 0, okay? So we're focusing on these three inequality because I have 3 of them, so I need S1, S2, and S3. So when you add them at the end, S1, S2, S3, you can change them to equation, and that's all you need to do. So the next one, again, we ignore the maximum equation, the x, y, and z greater than or equal to 0, just focusing on the 2 inequality here because I have 2 of them, so I just need S1 and S2, right? So I add S1 and S2 here, and I can change them to equation. And so that's the second step. So some of the exam question may ask you to do something like that. So the next step is changing the linear programming to the matrix. So you need to know how to do that. So again, we don't have to worry about x and y greater than or equal to 0. I have 2 inequalities, so I'm going to need S1 and S2, right? And set them equal to the number. And then for your maximize equations, they need to move it to one side with the z is positive. So we're moving these 2 terms to the left, so subtract them to the left hand side like that. Your matrix here go like this: x1, x2, s1, s2, and your z value and those answer number. So after we wrote those, we can see this is 2x1, 3x2, I have 1 s1, my answer is 100. 5x1, 4x2, I have an s2 here equal to 200. And then over here, I have negative 1x1, negative 3x2, and 1 z value equal to 0. So all we are doing is we're changing the linear programming to the matrix. So same with the next one. I need S1, S2, right? Set them equal. Move the 2 terms to the left so they are subtracting. And then move this over here. Again, x1, x2, s1, s2, z, and answer, right? So 10, 4, 1, 100. 20, 10, 1 s2, 150. So over here you have negative 4, negative 5, 1z equal to 0. So hopefully you're pretty okay with changing the linear programming using the slack variable and put it into the matrix form. Alright, so the next part is go a little bit more. So the next one, they give you the solution of the matrix and they ask you to write them as answer. So how does that work? So the one with an actual answer are the one at the bottom equal to 0. So I highlighted them. So 0, 0, 0. Also, your z value equal to this answer. Alright, so the first one, x1, I have 7x1 equal to 35. Divide both sides by 7, I have 1x1 equal to 5. So that's what I would have here, and I kind of did the step here. And then I don't have an x2, so x2 is going to be 0. And my x3 that's equal to 0, that's one of the answers. So 1x3 equal to 2. So x3 equal to 2. And then this one have an answer. 5s1 equal to 15. Divide both sides by 5. 1s1 equal to 3. Over here, this is 0, this is 0, right? So s2 is 0, s3 is 0, but 2z value equal to 40, so divide both sides by 2, 1z equal to 20, right? So that's what I have. So this is just asking you, provide you with the solution for the matrix. You need to write the actual answer, all right? And then they go one step further. If you have the matrix, then you actually need to find the answer. What do you do? So they are a little bit complex, I must admit. So first they will find the pivot column. So the pivot column is you're looking at everything. You want to find the most negative number. So this is the most negative number, -6. So this is your pivot column. So we say this is pivot column. And what you do next is you try to find those numbers. You find the quotient of them. So 18 divided by 3 is 6. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So this is the smaller out of all of them. So this one along with this, the row and column intersect this number is your pivot number or pivot value. So once we found the pivot value, we want to make the pivot value to be 1 and the number above and below that to be 0 using row operation. So obviously we need a lot more step by that, so we did it on a piece of paper. So we started with this again. The most negative number at the bottom give you the pivot column. You do the quotient thing. The smaller one is the one that you want to intersect and get the pivot number. Pivot number need to be 1. Number above and below it need to be 0. So what we do is like I want this to be 1. So the whole thing I divide by 3. Apply back. So that's what we have here. So once I have this 1, I'm going to use this to try to make the top and bottom guy become 0. So if this guy times -3, add to here and apply to here, it will make this part with a 0 here. And if I use that, and this is -6, if I multiply that by 6, add to here, apply back here, I can also make this a 0. So that's what we did here using those row operations. You can try to use the calculator to help, but it doesn't save you much step and it's like pretty complicated, so we did it by hand. So once we get this, how do I find the answer? So we focus on the bottom parts. I have a 0 here, so this is one of the answer. I have a 0 here, this is one of the answer. Also z is one of the answer, right? So I see 1x2 is 5, so x2 is 5, and 1s1 is 3, so s1 is 3, and then my z number is 30, and the rest of them would be 0. So that's how this works. I know it's a little bit complex. It's going to require some practice. So, but that's the basic what we did in 4.1. All right.